Hi, I'm Lily Parker, and if there's one thing I've learned, it's that subtle manipulation can ruin even the strongest bonds. It all started with whispers. Claims that I was excluding my sister-in-law's daughter from family events, spreading gossip about her, even stealing from her. By the time I pieced it together, my mother-in-law, Linda, had turned the entire family against me. Looking back, the warning signs were there from the moment I married David 2 years ago. His sister Emma was the golden child. Linda adored her. Emma, the successful real estate agent with her perfect house, her designer wardrobe, and her endless string of accolades. "Oh, Emma, darling, that blazer is divine," Linda would gush during family dinners. Then, with a saccharine smile, she'd add, "Lily, you really should take some tips from Emma. She has such impeccable taste." I'd nod and force a smile, knowing my teacher's salary didn't stretch to luxury brands. The first major blow came during Thanksgiving last year, my first attempt at hosting the Parker family traditions. Everything was going smoothly until Emma arrived, late and dramatically flustered, as always. "Mom," she said with that honey-sweet tone that always set my nerves on edge, "did you know Lily didn't invite me to her girls' lunch last weekend?" I had to find out through cousin Sarah's Instagram story. My heart stopped. "What lunch? I didn't plan any." "Oh, Lily," Linda interrupted with a heavy sigh. "Emma's been so lonely since her breakup. How could you leave her out like that?" I started to explain, but Emma, ever the actress, was already dabbing her eyes. "I just want to feel included," she whispered tearfully. "I thought we were supposed to be sisters." David squeezed my hand under the table. "Lils, maybe try harder with Emma." It hit me then. Emma wasn't just playing the victim. She was orchestrating these moments, crafting scenarios to undermine me. That girl's lunch? It was a faculty meeting at a cafe. Sarah, who happened to be there with her kids, had posted a picture that Emma conveniently twisted into a slight. Things escalated. Items began disappearing from Emma's home: an expensive lipstick, a designer scarf, a pair of earrings, only to resurface in my belongings. "I'm sure it's just a mix-up," Emma would say, ever so graciously, while Linda cast disapproving glances my way. Lily probably admired them and forgot to mention borrowing them. Then came the lies, claims that I was bad-mouthing Emma, sabotaging her real estate deals, even spreading gossip about her failed engagement. Each story was perfectly calculated to cast doubt, and it worked. "I don't know what to believe," David admitted one night after yet another tense family gathering. "Emma's always been honest, but you're my wife." The betrayal in his words cut deeper than any of Emma's schemes. "You think I'd do these things?" I asked, my voice trembling. He sighed, looking torn. "No, but Mom showed me texts where you—" "What texts?" I interrupted, my heart racing. "David, I never sent any texts." But Linda had fabricated evidence, doctored screenshots, twisted conversations, and even testimonies from family friends who'd swallowed her lies. The breaking point came at Christmas dinner. Emma, ever the star of the show, tearfully announced that her grandmother's sapphire bracelet, a family heirloom Linda had gifted her, was missing. "I took it off during Thanksgiving," she said, her voice shaking. "It was on my vanity, but after Lily used my bathroom." The room went silent. Every eye turned to me. "Lily," Linda said with a pointed look, "if you return the bracelet, we'll move past this." I stood, my chair scraping loudly against the floor. "I never touched that bracelet, and I'm done with this charade." Emma leaned closer to Linda, her voice a stage whisper. "See how defensive she gets. Just like when she was caught snooping in my closet last month." I scanned the room, at David's uncertain expression, Linda's thinly veiled satisfaction, and Emma's flawless mask of innocence. In their eyes, I was already guilty. But they underestimated me. For months, I'd been documenting everything: the lies, the missing items, the manipulations. They thought I was cornered, but I wasn't. Emma and Linda were about to learn that even the quietest ones can fight back when pushed too far. I sat in my car outside the Parker family home, tears streaking my face. The Christmas dinner fiasco had been the final straw. My phone buzzed on the passenger seat, another group message from Linda lighting up the screen. "I hate to share this, but we need to discuss Lily's concerning behavior. First the stealing, and now this." Attached was a photo of Emma's bathroom vanity. Drawers yanked open, contents scattered. My stomach twisted. I hadn't stepped foot in Emma's house in weeks. My hands gripped the steering wheel, trembling with anger. But instead of breaking down again, I made a decision. I wasn't going to let them destroy me. That night, I called my best friend Kate, who worked in digital forensics. "Those text screenshots Linda's been parading around," Kate said after a thorough review. "They're fake. The timestamp format doesn't match real iPhone messages. It's from a text generator app." With that revelation, I started building my case. I documented everything, every accusation, every conveniently missing item, every staged scenario. I even installed security cameras in my home after Emma somehow found her missing designer sunglasses in our guest room, despite neither David nor I being home at the time. Then came the turning point. During a family brunch, I left my phone recording on the table while I helped in the kitchen. Later, I reviewed the footage and there it was, Emma slipping something into my purse. That something turned out to be her mother's expensive perfume, an item she later claimed was stolen. "I really don't want to accuse Lily," Emma had said at the table, her voice quivering with Fox's concern, "but maybe she just can't help herself." This time, I was ready. "Actually," I said, interrupting her performance, "I have something you all need to see." I pulled out my phone and played the video. The room fell silent as Emma's face turned ghostly pale. Linda jumped to her defense almost immediately. "She was probably just returning it after finding it in your bag," Linda said, her voice sharp. "Really?" I replied calmly. "Then I'm sure you won't mind if I show the footage from last week, when Emma claimed I stole her bracelet." I brought up another recording, this one from our home security camera. It showed Emma sneaking into our house using the spare key David had given her for emergencies. She'd planted the bracelet behind our dresser herself, preparing for yet another dramatic accusation. Linda gasped, clutching her pearls. "You've been recording us? How dare you spy on family?" "Family doesn't set each other up," I shot back. "And if you're upset about that, you're really not going to like what's next." I pulled out a folder thick with evidence. "Here are the real text logs," I said, showing Emma coordinating with you, Linda, to fabricate those fake screenshots. "Here's a timeline of every incident you blamed on me, complete with proof I wasn't even there. And here's a credit report showing the card Emma opened in my name." "Yes, I know about that too." David, who had been silent until now, finally spoke. "Mom? Emma," his voice cracked. "What is this?" Emma's usual tears began to flow, but for once, they weren't having their intended effect. "I don't understand," David said, turning to her. "Why would you do this?" "Because she's jealous," I said, my voice steady. "Aren't you, Emma? Ever since your engagement fell apart, you've been miserable watching your brother in a happy marriage. And Linda, you've never thought anyone was good enough for your son, have you?" Linda's face darkened. "Everything I've done has been to protect this family." "No," David said, standing, his voice firm. "Everything you've done has been to control this family. And I let you hurt my wife." The room was silent except for Emma's genuine sobs. My hands stopped trembling as I stood, gathering my folder. "I'm filing for a restraining order," I said calmly, "against both of you. And I've already reported the fraudulent credit card, Emma." "You can't do this," Linda sputtered. "We're family." I looked at her, unflinching. Family doesn't destroy each other. And this? The weeks after my revelation were pure chaos. Linda went into overdrive, launching a campaign to paint me as the villain. She claimed I had manufactured evidence to tear apart our perfect family. But her words no longer held the power they once did. The truth had finally begun to unravel her carefully constructed web. One evening, as David and I sat together, I laid out my plan. "I've invited the whole family for dinner next Saturday," I said, "including your Aunt Rebecca." David's brow furrowed. "Rebecca? Mom's sister who's been cut off from the family for years." "The very same," I replied with a knowing smile. I thought back to my phone call with Rebecca, who'd been living in London since her abrupt departure a decade ago. "Did you know Emma pulled the same tricks on Rebecca's daughter Sarah? She accused her of stealing, spread lies about her, and turned everyone against her. That's why they left." David's face darkened as he processed the revelation. "Why didn't anyone tell me this?" "Because Linda and Emma made sure you wouldn't hear it." The dinner party was set for 6 p.m. The family arrived in waves, filling the house with awkward chatter. Linda and Emma were the last to walk in, their air of wounded dignity firmly in place. But their confident strides faltered when they saw Rebecca seated at the table. Linda froze, her voice a sharp hiss. What is she doing here? Telling the truth, Rebecca said evenly. Finally. As the meal unfolded, Rebecca shared her story. 10 years earlier, Emma had systematically destroyed her daughter Sarah's reputation, accusing her of theft and other betrayals. Linda, of course, had backed Emma every step of the way, isolating Rebecca and Sarah from the family until they had no choice but to leave. Sound familiar? I asked, locking eyes with Emma. Her perfectly composed mask began to crack. That's absurd, Emma stammered. Sarah was stealing. Like this? I interrupted, pulling out her grandmother's sapphire bracelet, the one Emma had accused me of stealing. I found it in your desk drawer at work. Your assistant was more than willing to help me uncover the truth. The room erupted into chaos. Family members began sharing their own experiences, buried stories of Emma's manipulations, and Linda's enabling finally coming to light. Cousins spoke of being ostracized, friends alienated, all following the same pattern. When the noise settled, I stood and addressed the room. Here's my proposition. Either you both admit everything to everyone, or I take this evidence to the police. The credit card fraud alone would make for very interesting headlines. Linda's face went pale. You wouldn't dare. Think of the family name. Rebecca scoffed. Like you thought of it when you destroyed other people's lives. Finally, Emma cracked. Fine, she screamed. Yes, I did it. I set you up, planted things, faked messages. I couldn't stand watching you have everything I lost. And Mom helped because she's never thought you were good enough for David anyway. The confession was a tipping point. Family members who'd stayed silent for years now found their voices, condemning the toxic duo. Linda and Emma's house of cards collapsed under the weight of the truth. In the aftermath, Linda and Emma were cut off from the family, a poetic taste of their own medicine. David and I moved to a new home across town, determined to build a fresh start grounded in boundaries and honesty. Rebecca and Sarah returned from London, reconnecting with family members who now understood the truth. A week ago, I received a letter from Emma. An apology, perhaps? I haven't opened it yet. Some wounds take time to heal, and I'm learning that forgiveness doesn't always mean reconciliation. Recently, David asked me if I regretted marrying into his complicated family. I thought about the strength I'd discovered, the truth I'd unearthed, and the justice that had been served. No regrets, I told him. Sometimes you have to weather the storm to find your strength. The perfect daughter's mask had shattered. The manipulative mother-in-law's control had crumbled, and I had emerged stronger than ever. Now I want to hear from you. Have you ever faced someone who tried to ruin your reputation? How did you handle it? Sometimes the hardest battles aren't fought with fists, but with truth and patience. Share your stories in the comments below.